Hey, what's up? Welcome back to Triple R Ryan's Real Reactions. We're going to get into a video today, a true crime video called Killer Thinks He Got Away, Doesn't Know 4-Year-Old Saw Everything, the Case of Damian Huffman. This is from the Unseen YouTube channel. Shout out to them. And shout out to everybody that has subscribed to this channel. We are almost at 2,000 subscribers. The channel is over about, what, 2 weeks old. Thank you so much for helping me get there. Please subscribe if you haven't. Turn those post notifications on. And then, of course, please consider liking this video and leaving a comment at any point, as it really will continue to help the growth. All the links of everything I do will be in the description. My Instagram, my Discord, my Twitch, where I stream 5 days a week, is right there. Check it out. That being said, let's watch the video, shall we?
It's 2003, in the quiet rural town of Bradford, Ohio. 4-year-old Damian
A lot of stuff goes down in Ohio, I've noticed. Making a run for Florida.
lives with his great-grandparents, Jack and Linda Myers, and his mother, Amber, on their 40-acre farm. Amber was just a teen when she had Damian in late 1998, so without hesitation, her grandparents Jack and Linda, still full of energy, opened their home to Amber and her new son. They gave her a place to stay and helped raise Damian as their own.
Nice.
When Damian came along, he was just so precious.
You know, they loved him and they loved me enough to help me out, and so they helped me with him.
Jack and Linda had met later in life, blending their families when they got married in their 50s. Together, they ran a small pizza shop and quickly became pillars in their tight-knit community.
So
That's kind of like a dream, you know, meet the love of your life when you're older, open a pizza shop on Main Street.
Living with Grandma and Grandpa, because them being the kind of loving people that they were, they took me in and cared for me and everything, and Mom would come and see me. We were always having fun, laughing, and just carrying on and whatnot.
Jack and Damian were the best of friends. Jack would sit him on his lap and they'd be out there just driving around in the field, and Damian thought that was the coolest thing ever.
I mean, I'm 34. I would think that's the coolest thing ever, to get to go on a tractor. So I feel you, Damian.
Family meant everything to them. Their home was always full of kids, grandkids, and the smell of home-cooked food during frequent big family dinners.
The farm was the place that everybody went and got together for all the family gatherings.
That's Grandpa Jack at his best. Oh, that's Grandma. Hi, Grandma.
I mean, we all had great family things that we did together.
We were all so close that you didn't put that step-parent or step-son into things. You know, we were all just really close.
I tell you what, you know, the older I get, really what I want in life is some land. Just give me some land, you know? Give me a farm. Give me some pigs. Give me some cows. Man, I'll do it all. I'm serious. The older I get, it's like, you know, I live in Los Angeles, where you don't really see land. Everything is taken. So that whenever I kind of go somewhere where there's just a bunch of it, I'm like, man, how refreshing is this? It's nice to hear some quiet every now and then. You know what I'm saying? Give me a couple acres. That would be fantastic. Anybody wants to marry me? Let's do it. Let's buy a farm together.
There was no reason to ever think that anything bad would go on there.
Life was good for the Myers. Amber, now an adult, recently got married and was able to live in her own home, finally gaining the financial stability to fully support Damian by herself.
Okay.
The plan was clear. After Damian finishes preschool, he'll officially move out to be with his mother, just 30 minutes away from Jack and Linda's farm, and start kindergarten in his new neighborhood. But on March 27th, 2003, things take a disturbing turn for the worse, when at 9:15 a.m., a 911 dispatcher in Ohio receives an unusual call. On the other end, a preschool teacher frantically explains that a little boy has just arrived at daycare. He's alone, in his pajamas, and he's covered in blood.
Oh, Lord. What in the world? I mean, oh my, can you imagine as a teacher, that's got the amount of fear that would be in my voice here.
911 emergency. The little boy just ran in the front door. How'd he get to the daycare? Walked here. How old is he?
He walked.
He's 4 years old and he walked there? Yes, he did. And he said his grandparents are melting.
His grandparents are melting. Oh, no. Oh, that's awful. That is just terrible, man. Jesus.
Okay. And they have blood all over them.
That's not a call we get every day. What could melting grandparents mean? Something was wrong.
That's horrific.
The little boy is Damian, who lives a mile down the road at the farm. The preschool teachers recognize him as one of their daycare students and fear something terrible must have happened for him to run all the way here on his own.
Man, he came a whole mile at 4 years old with those little legs going a mile. That is insane and honestly incredible.
Officers head straight to the Myers farm, but they have no idea what to expect, and no one knows yet what's happened to Damian's family. Fearing the worst, and with a class full of children nearby, the dispatcher orders the teachers to go into full lockdown.
Yeah, go ahead and lock your doors. Yeah, you don't want any of them kids outside. Oh my God.
We didn't know what we were dealing with. We didn't know if it was an injury or if it was an assault. Were there perpetrators at the scene? I'm just assuming worst case scenario. What was first noticed was the front door of the house was standing wide open. We tactically entered the door where we stopped, took cover, calling out, anybody home, anybody here, and there was still no response.
The house is quiet, too quiet. Guns drawn, the officers step through the front door, slowly making their way through the kitchen. Then, they push open the bedroom door. Their worst fears are confirmed when they discover 2 bodies on the bed, not moving, and covered in blood.
That's just so sad that a 4-year-old was the person that had to see that. I can't imagine the trauma, and the just whatever mental toll that's going to take on somebody as they get older. Also, Jesus, man, these poor grandparents seem like great people.
They're identified as Jack and Linda, Damian's grandparents.
I see that Jack was bleeding from the mouth and nose.
He had a gunshot wound to the back of his head.
Jesus.
I could see that he had suffered significant blood loss. I checked him for a carotid pulse. He obviously wasn't breathing, and I determined he was deceased. Linda has suffered a gunshot wound directly to the face.
Jeez, man.
And also to the hand. They both felt a little bit warm to the touch.
You just got to be just a monster to do something like that. I mean, I can't even call you a human being if you do something like that to somebody. I really can't. It's hard for me to call you human. I'm just going to refer to you as a monster if you do something like that to somebody. You don't deserve to be called a human being.
Which tells me it hasn't been days that they've been deceased. It's probably more like hours.
Unsure if the killer might still be at the scene, officers quickly search the house, room by room.
Gotta wonder
However,
why.
they confirm no one else is inside the home. The killer is still at large. Back at the daycare, Damian was placed under the care and supervision of police. His safety is the top priority. With no killer in custody and police just beginning their investigation, everyone is a suspect, even family. It's not safe to let Damian out of their sight. Meanwhile, more officers arrive at Amber's house with the heartbreaking job of giving her the tragic news about what happened earlier in the day.
The detectives told me that they were no longer with us, and I was confused. I said, and Damian too, because the way that they worded it made me think my son wasn't here either.
Oh, did she? Yeah, dude, that's, geez Louise, man. I can't imagine how hard of a job it is as a cop to have to tell a family member. Sorry if I do that. My dog is itching himself in his surgery area. But how hard it must be to tell a family that they lost a loved one. The empathy and the sympathy you have to have, and you have to take, the care you have to get that conversation going, man.
He was actually put in a protective custody status, and he was hidden from all of his family members.
Good, honestly, just to
not
make
knowing where Damian was or how he was feeling, there was nothing I could do.
Jeez, man.
To comfort my son is the worst feeling in the world.
As Damian remains hidden from his surviving family for his own protection, news of the sudden murders reaches the town and the surrounding Dark County, leaving everyone shocked. Nothing like this has ever happened here, and the residents are on edge, wanting answers.
The bodies of Jack Myers and his wife Linda were found murdered in this farmhouse near Gettysburg, both shot to death, execution style.
Yeah, it's got to be, there has to be an obvious reason. It can't be like a robbery gone wrong, because with a farm that looks like it's a quarter mile off a road, it's not like you're just going to stumble upon the house, or like if you're, someone's drunk and they're it has to be a targeted hit. You know what I'm saying? Especially since they were both in bed. you know, that doesn't lead me to believe that it was obviously an accident, and it doesn't lead me to believe that somebody was like robbing the house and then just like got spooked and did something. You know,
it's already made the news, and the people in the community think some monster's out there that is snuck into people's house and going to kill them.
That's what
It
I would
seems like
think.
the only person who might know what actually happened is a 4-year-old child, seemingly the only witness.
Jeez.
But before sharing Damian's side of the story, details from the crime scene and investigators are important to
Hold on, that picture is very
Before
nostalgic
sharing
to me.
Damian's side of the story, details.
Okay, like I grew up in the 90s. I'm a millennial. I have a computer tattoo right there. A Dell desktop on my arm. Like, that's just like everyone that I know had this exact, like, cabinet shelf thing for their computer. Like, I'm pretty sure we had, like, the exact same one. The big printer went on top. Printer's still pretty much the same, by the way, which is crazy. Desktop there, you had a couple shelves. Those shelves to the right always just had a bunch of crap on it. Just like that. A bunch of paper, just a bunch of things. And the little shelf underneath for the mouse and keyboard. Very nostalgic.
From the
and I spy an old school Walmart bag right there. That's right here. It was the what was it? Roll down prices or what? Roll back prices, I believe it was. There's like a market. You know, there's like a market for people that like people will buy these old bags. And I've also seen people that will. There's a market on eBay for like old receipts. And what I want to buy is I want to buy a bunch of old like, you know, advertisements from the mail, you know, back when like they would send like Target or Walmart or like whatever, Best Buy, and they would send, you know, the mailers out with all the deals. I want to buy a bunch of those. That's a market too. It's just cool to look back on that stuff. Little side tangent, but I like collecting things.
The crime scene and investigators are important to analyze.
Hold on. I'm sorry to keep going. You guys are probably like,
details
shut
from
up,
the crime scene.
I'm just getting nostalgic from back when we had the boom boxes with the big speakers like that.
And investigators are important to analyze. Initially considered a burglary gone wrong, this theory is quickly debunked after an initial review of the
100%.
farm.
We found money around the house.
I
We
could just tell it
found
wasn't the case
purses, credit cards, checkbooks.
We found cash. We found electronics. Drawers had not been opened or looked into. Theft does not appear to be the immediate motive here.
I just also don't think you're going to burglarize a farm that's far off that far off the road unless it's a hit, and it doesn't seem likely that was
Whatever
the case.
happened at the Myers house isn't a random act of violence.
Right.
It's a premeditated double homicide. It's personal.
It is not normal for a total stranger to just sneak into somebody's house overnight and murder somebody and walk out for no apparent reason. So the investigation is going to start to center around those that are closest to Jack and Linda.
However, none of the Myers' close connections turn up any promising leads. None of them, except for John. John is a longtime family friend and an outgoing next-door neighbor to the Myers.
He believed he had some
John's going to solve it.
information for us, reference to our investigation.
Okay. Why don't we just start out with, you tell us what you know. Make a long story pretty much short. When me and him used to start off go hunting all the time.
Now me
and Greg Myers.
John seems suspicious of Greg Myers. Greg isn't just anyone. He's Jack's own son from his first marriage.
Oh, boy. This already rings a bell. And the hunting thing, which means access to guns, I would guess.
However, everyone close to the family finds it hard to imagine Greg as a suspect. The 25-year-old had just been the best man at his father's wedding to Linda.
Jesus.
He's polite, friendly, and spent a large amount of his childhood at the farm with his family.
I mean, I almost
Greg
hope it
was the
isn't
one
him.
that had been closest with his father for most of his life.
Greg cared for his dad dearly. Didn't have no problems with anything about his dad.
With no criminal history, Greg is, by all accounts, the opposite of a typical suspect. With a family of his own and no known issues with any of the victims, he seems like the last person who would be involved in something as horrific as this.
I mean, I hope it's not Greg, but...
However unlikely a suspect he may seem, Greg is still brought into the station for questioning.
When Greg first come into the interview room, he was acting like he was down or emotionally upset. Asked us for a trash can right away, said his stomach had been upset all day.
When asked about where he was at the time of his father and stepmother's murder, he provides a solid alibi. He was at work that morning, 30 miles away, even providing a stamped timesheet. Greg also wears shoes 2 sizes larger than the footprints found at the crime scene.
So he's smarter than OJ if he actually did this.
Throughout the interrogation, Greg is cooperative and expresses a strong desire to help, even enthusiastically offering to take a lie detector test. Police were even personally allowed to search his home.
Up to this point in the investigation, we had no information leading us to Greg.
Now, I will say lie detector tests aren't used anymore, I believe, right? I'm almost positive, because you can debunk a lie detector. You can also beat a lie detector. And I feel like lie detectors are just, like on YouTube, there's just one guy that does them. It's that same guy. If anyone's ever watched the lie detector videos, you know what I'm talking about. It's that one guy every time. I've even worked with him with the Dolan twins, with my friends Tara and Jake. He's the only guy that does lie detectors that you can find in this area. So I'm guessing lie detectors just don't really stand for much anymore. They used to be a big deal, polygraphs, but, you know, there's all this psychological stuff behind it now where you can beat it. You know.
Although the current evidence seems like a dead end, 4-year-old Damian, the young boy who ran to get help on the day of the murders, still has his side of the story to tell.
He's the key here.
Why don't you tell me what your name is?
Damian Huffman Myers.
Oh, this poor kid, man. Dang, man. This cute little kid did not deserve to see this crap.
How old are you, Damian?
I turned 4 because I had my birthday already.
Okay.
In the
also, dude, just very well spoken for 4 years old. I don't think I was doing that at 4. I mean, I could speak, but I don't know if I could string a sentence long like that. Maybe I could, man. I don't know. It's been a long time. It was 30 years ago.
Hours of March 27,
you know what I mean?
2003, Damian woke up on his own.
Well spoken.
This was unusual, since normally his grandparents were there to get him ready for preschool. At only 4 years old, Damian knew something wasn't right that morning. Worried he would be late for school, he made his way downstairs to check on his grandparents.
I ran downstairs and I went in the bedroom and I was trying to wake them up.
Were they just laying there in bed, or where were they at?
They was laying in bed, melted.
I hate that, man. That makes... they was laying in bed melted. That's just a terrible way to describe something. Because... Damn. Just gonna keep playing it. That makes me very sad.
The horrifying scene was something no child should ever have to see, or should even have the words to describe. To the young Damian, the tragedy of his grandparents in front of him was impossible to make sense of. The only way he found to process it was to assume his grandparents were melting. The words he spoke left the detectives stunned, having to take a few moments to collect their thoughts. As the full weight of what Damian said began to settle in, the detectives knew what this meant.
You saw blood?
Yeah.
Okay, where did you see blood at?
On the pillows and the covers and on the bed.
The little boy grabbed the tissue and attempted to tend to his grandfather's injuries.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, this is so sad, man. What a brave little kid, though. What a smart little kid. Also, let me subscribe to this channel. Good channel. Unseen. Good channel.
But it was too late. Jack and Damian were an inseparable duo, and Damian knew his grandpa would never have given up on him. Neither would his grandma. Damian decided to muster up his courage and do the same for his grandparents.
Wow.
And then I started crying. I tried to call 911.
The little boy grabbed the phone tightly and dialed 911, but nothing happened. The line was dead, silent. As it turned out, the killer had cut the phone lines to make sure no one could call for help.
Jeez, man. First of all, what a smart kid he is at 4 years old, having the wherewithal to get, call 911. What a sick person, though. And if it is the son that did this, well, whoever did this, regardless, we'll find out. They obviously had this planned for a long time. To cut the phone line, because also back in, what was it was 2003, right? There really were no cell phones, or barely cell phones, and internet wasn't what it is today. So it's like the phone line, especially when you live on a farm in a rural area, that's the only way you can get help. Unless you run to a neighbor, which is literally what this kid had to do, so.
Damian looked around the room, trying to find another solution to help his family. Remembering his daycare wasn't too far from the farm, he immediately headed out the front door and started to run. Over a mile down the road to his daycare, the one place he believed he could find help.
I didn't know what to ran here
You ran?
as fast as I could.
With Damian's recounting of
This kid's a little superhero. No, I guess maybe how rural this area is. Every time I say rural, I sound like Scooby-Doo or... Not one car passed by this kid in that mile run, seeing a 4-year-old with blood covered on them running. Not one. Man, I mean, I guess maybe not if it was early in the morning.
the story, there's an inconsistency in his retelling versus the evidence at the farm. In reality, blood was also found in Damian's bedroom. Either the 4-year-old is misremembering the events of that morning, or there's more to the truth that he hasn't yet revealed. They come up with a different approach to go through everything again. Using a bit of ingenuity, they craft the layout of the farmhouse with a model home and dolls, hoping the props will help Damian open up further.
They had little puppets of me and Grandma and Grandpa. I showed them what I did and what had happened.
As Damian acts out his movements around the house that morning,
it's a smart idea for them to do that.
He reveals that while he was asleep in his bedroom before going downstairs to check on his grandparents, there was a stranger in the house.
I was in bed, I was sleeping. I heard the door click. And so I peeked because I didn't want to get caught being up. I figured it was Grandma or Grandpa coming in to talk to me or something.
With one eye opened, to his horror, Damian realized that it wasn't one of his grandparents walking into his bedroom. It was a dark figure, a stranger, dressed in a green jumpsuit, holding a shotgun.
Jesus.
I was absolutely terrified. I was scared. This dark green mass of a man pointing a gun. I just closed my eyes and eventually I opened my eyes to peek. And he was gone.
This 4-year-old had come pretty much face to face with somebody that had just killed his grandparents.
I'm surprised that he didn't hear the shots.
Turns out, just 5 miles away from the house, in the Stillwater River, cops recover a 12-gauge shotgun, but the serial number sanded off to prevent police from finding the owner.
Man, this person is really calculated.
However, it's very similar to the weapon described in Damian's testimony.
The forensic examiner was able to restore the serial number.
There we go.
Detectives review a local newspaper where people buy and sell firearms. There, they find an older listing for a shotgun that matches the exact model of the weapon recovered from the river. And
these detectives were working. They did their job here.
Listed on March 25th, exactly 2 days before Damian survives the murders. With this lead, detectives are able to trace the ad to the gun's original owner.
Went to the person's house who sold the Winchester shotgun. I said, "Do you remember who you sold it to?"
His wife brings us a piece of notebook paper where she
it's gonna be Greg, isn't it, huh?
It wrote down the name Greg Myers.
I knew it, man. I was like, you know what? They haven't brought up Greg, the son, in a little bit here. Are you kidding me?
Myers.
That's why he probably let Damian go, because, you know.
The name shocks the investigators. Since the beginning, Greg seemed like the most unlikely suspect, as a close family member to Damian himself and to the victims.
He thought he got away with it, too.
Detectives dig into Greg's past, looking for any signs of motive, and they uncover something concerning. Greg had been struggling at work, and his finances were in serious trouble.
We discovered that Greg was in financially dire straits. His house had been foreclosed on. He'd stopped making payments because he knew he was going to lose his house. And that he really didn't know where he was going to go.
But
okay, you know, we all go through some things.
After looking into their insurance policies, cops discovered that Greg would inherit the farm if his parents died.
Are you kidding me? What a sick psychopath freak. So he decided to end his parents' life so that he could live in the house instead of just maybe asking them or saying, hey, my house is going under. Could I live with you guys? They seem like the type of family that would say, sure.
Suddenly, the motive for the murder becomes
Lord
clear,
have
and
mercy.
Greg is now the prime suspect in his father's and stepmother's murders.
What a psycho.
Only days after the murder, Greg is taken back to the station for questioning, this time with a more direct approach. They ask him about the will and the inheritance, pressing him on whether his financial trouble could have played a role in his parents' deaths.
I mean, money is never that important, man. I know money is you know, you need it. I get it. I get it. But, like, when it comes to living and dying and things like that, there's always another way. I mean, there's always another way. It's just insane.
Greg is calm, but the tension in the room is clear. The detectives are determined to find out what really happened.
You know you're holding some stuff back.
I'm trying to be as honest as I can.
Well, Greg, I don't think you are.
Get him.
I really don't. Okay? I really think you know something about this, and I really think you have knowledge. You do.
No.
You do.
No, I do not.
I know you've asked people for a gun because you want to kill your dad. Okay?
Uh-oh, look at
There's
that.
a 4-year-old boy that's seen this. Okay? You didn't hurt him, so you got some remorse.
With only circumstantial evidence pointing to Greg, though, a first-degree murder charge will be tough to prove in court. However, upon later searches of the river where they had uncovered the shotgun, comes something even more disturbing: a suspicious, floating trash bag tied shut. Inside the bag is one item perfectly matching Damian's description: a green jumpsuit.
Man, this dude thought that was going to travel all the way to, like, Oklahoma or something. I don't know if that's even possible. I'm not great at the states and the geography of things, but you know what I mean. I bet he did not expect him to find that weapon and find the jumpsuit.
The bag also contains more damning evidence. Latex gloves with a fingerprint on it later matched to Greg. 12-gauge slugs exactly like those used in the murders.
He put everything
and
in
tennis
that
shoes
bag.
2.5 sizes smaller than Greg's feet, but exactly like the footprints found at the window.
So he thought that, you know, hey, if they find it, couldn't be me. You know, it's like, well, it is like the OJ thing. The glove don't fit. You must have quit. Now, that worked for him, but that was also a case that was, well, it was that case was ridiculous.
The killer entered the farmhouse.
Sergeant Mark Whitaker called and informed me they made an arrest and that it was Greg. And I just went to my knees on my kitchen floor.
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
And I cried my eyeballs out because I was so close with him. That hit me like a rock.
I just couldn't wrap my head around him, of all people.
You know, when something like this probably happens, she probably has this image of somebody in her head, you know, and it's certainly not going to be her brother or stepbrother, depending on, you know, which one it was. I got a splinter, man.
I just didn't believe that Greg could do that.
In April of 2004, Greg Myers goes on trial for the first-degree murders of his father, Jack, and stepmother, Linda. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, Myers pleads not guilty.
He really thought he was getting away
His
with
entire
this.
family filled the courtroom. Sisters, brothers, and family friends who had once gathered for joyful family occasions.
Terrible.
Now, they sat in shock, witnessing the man they thought they knew on trial for murder.
Seeing Greg, he didn't show
all because of a house. They say money is the root of all evil, man. It could be the damn truth sometimes.
remorse for anything. He didn't look at any of us.
Jesus.
On April 27th, 2004, after just a few hours of deliberation, a Dark County jury found Greg Myers guilty of 2 counts of aggravated murder.
Good.
Greg Myers is sentenced to 2 life terms without the chance of
Goodbye,
parole.
Greg.
It was hard because I still couldn't believe that it was Greg. I still felt like there's no way sometime I'm going to wake up from this dream. I just never would have thought he could do anything like that.
To know that he did this all out of greed.
Yep.
That cuts like a knife.
It was terrible, and I hope he regrets it a lot. He deserves to be there for the rest of his life for taking them from us.
With Greg Myers convicted and justice finally served, Damian's long nightmare finally comes to an end. During the investigation, Damian was kept from his mother, and with his grandparents gone, it was difficult to stay strong. But detectives worked tirelessly to uncover the truth, save Damian, and make sure his family got justice. The 4-year-old showed immense bravery for such a young boy, inspiring everyone around him.
Yeah.
Damian was able to reunite with his mother, Amber, and
Good.
in a bittersweet turn of events, fulfilled the plan she had made with her family that same year of the murders. The little boy finally moves in with her and starts kindergarten at his new school, supported by the loving memory of his grandparents.
Good.
I was finally able to get Damian back home. I can't put into words what that was like.
I mean, also just can't imagine what that was like for the mom there, not to being able to see your boy after all this trauma. That's when you want to be there for your boy, you know, is when all that goes down, man.
I think about this boy every day because it's just one of those cases that you can't dismiss it out of your mind.
Damian now is 22 years old, and he's doing amazing.
Good.
He did great in school.
He's grown up to be a hard-working, great young man. We're all proud of him. We all love him very much.
Jack and Linda were the heart and soul of the family, the glue that blended their family and kept them united. In their own way, they found strength in each other, a love and closeness that doesn't always follow the rules of a typical family, but still holds throughout time and any adversity. The Myers legacy lives on through Damian himself. Now a young man, he carries forward the love, strength, and spirit his grandparents instilled in him. Despite the darkness of the past, he honors them with every step, making his family proud.
Man, that's just a crazy story, man. What a great video, but woof. That is a crazy, crazy story. Rest in peace to Jack and Linda Myers. And Greg, go to hell. Wow. That was a fantastic watch right there. What a freaking incredible 4-year-old, man. Phew. Unbelievable. Also, let's look at some comments real quick. This one sparked my interest. It says, this daycare was not literally down the road. He somehow remembered several turns to get there. It's remarkable and it's heartbreaking. Yeah, they also said it's a mile away. You know, at my peak athletic abilities, I could run probably like a 740 mile. And that's when I was like 16. When you're I mean, you know, it probably took him like 25 minutes to run. I get lost now, going places that I should know. Whew, man. Yeah, a lot of people were affected by that melted comment. I feel terrible about that. It's just beyond comprehension there. Just unbelievable. They raised him so well. Yeah, absolutely did. See, okay, good. I'm glad that he speaks very clearly and intelligently for a 4-year-old. That's what I'm saying. I don't think I was that intelligent. I may not have been that intelligent when I was 14. Unbelievable. Well, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a like for me if you don't mind. Subscribe to this channel, like I said, please. A lot of content to come, a lot of content already on the channel. If you have not watched any other videos, please do. There'll be a bunch of videos on the end card that'll probably pop up in the next couple seconds, or maybe they're on the screen now. Click them, watch them, and have a good rest of your day or night. Also, once again, make sure to leave a comment on this video. Most of you are already tapped in and do all this stuff, and I appreciate it. You guys are ready. You guys are ready to go to battle with me here for this new channel. And then, yeah, my Twitch, which is the big one, where I stream live 5 days a week. If you ever want to come on by, say hi, talk to me one-on-one. I'll say what's up to you. Tell me you came from the YouTube channel. That'd be great. And everything else in the description, my Instagram, if you care about that. My Discord, which is invite only, is in the description. All that stuff. Like I said, I'll say it every single video because, of course, I want you to join me in other places. If you don't, though, that's okay. Thank you for your time regardless. Have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you right here really soon on Triple R, Ryan's Real Reactions. Peace out.